Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Myth-Busting Mondays. And I hope you guys are looking forward to today's episode, because for today's episode, we've got an interesting one. As always, for the final myth, this is going to end up being, can you stop the plane, or in this case, the rescue, on dead air from taking off? Could we somehow block the plane from taking liftoff and making it where we're stuck at the airport? Is that possible? I don't know, my friends. We're going to see later on in today's episode. If you end up enjoying today's episode, please end up dropping a like, comment, and subscribe to show your guys' support. And if you want to have one of your myths featured in next week's episode, just please put them in the comment section down below. But anyways, guys, let's go on with this week's episode of Myth-Busting Mondays. Myth: can you break a door with a smoker's tongue? Alrighty guys, so for the very first myth, this was submitted in by Glabursko. Now Glabursko, when it comes to your myth, this is a really interesting strategy that you got here. I like this because it'd be cool if you could end up shooting your tongue through a door, so that way you could grab somebody if they shut the door on you, even though technically the door would probably take multiple tongues, I would assume, because it does with punches. But so far right now, it's not really doing that well in practice. Now in a prior myth, we tested this on glass and it worked, but it just does not seem to have the same effect on everything. Now on the wall there, which funnily enough is technically supposed to be stronger realistically, I broke that in one hit, but yet the door here is suddenly like almost being treated as if that the wall would be if this were realistic. The wall, for some reason, I got down one shot because it had that yellow little barrier, but now the door, though, it's not letting me do it, and so I had to resort to punching it, and after a few punches, it knocked it down. So that means that this myth is definitely busted. You cannot shoot your tongue to break a door on a map, although it is a nice idea, though, and I'm glad you thought of it. Myth: can you break your fall with a bile bomb? Alright guys, so for the next myth, this is being submitted in by Saturn. Now, Saturn, I do also see that you end up saying that you were originally Samuel, you just changed your name. So just let me know if in the future, if you want me to call you Saturn or Samuel. If not, I'll probably just rotate between the two. But in the meantime, I'll call you Saturn. So technically, when it comes to this myth is really interesting. We've done something similar to this before with all the different grenades. The grenades have different physics. So with the bile bomb, the problem is unlike the Molotov and the pipe bomb, this grenade will break. It's supposed to end up shattering and, making the green mist. So there's really nothing to exactly do with this grenade physics-wise, because essentially what happens is that when you use it, it just disappears. So we tried doing it first by just jumping off of a high place and then just throwing the grenade underneath of us to see if, like, let's say that something crazy would happen, like, I don't know, a miraculous miracle with the game coding. But really all that just happened was just us looking like idiots and just jumping off of like high surfaces. So this really did nothing. Now, the one thing that we didn't technically test was throwing it and having zombies pile up and jumping on the zombies' heads, because I have heard of stuff like that before in the past. But the thing is, though, is that trying to like do that, I feel like would be more about the zombies rather than the bile bomb breaking your fall. Because if the bile bomb is what's breaking your fall, I feel like that would be the grenade, whereas if you just jumped on zombies' heads, I feel like that would be technically the zombies, so I decided to scratch that, but you can let me know if that's what you were thinking in the comments down below. So we really didn't know how to proceed if we were throwing it by ourselves, so we had at least one other option that we thought of, which was similar to when we did this with the pipe bomb in a prior myth, which was that we throw it underneath of somebody's feet and try to catch them. So for this strategy, Nitwit is going to just jump directly underneath of me. I'm going to throw the bile bomb right at his feet in hopes of catching him. Now you can sort of see what's going on here right before he dies is he ends up freezing in the air, and it's like he almost gets stopped, but then he suddenly dies again. I think what happens is that when you end up throwing the grenade at his feet, similar to the mechanics of the pipe bomb, it is initially stopping him and therefore negating fall damage. The problem is that with the pipe bomb, it's solid. It doesn't go away until it's done with its ticking timer. And with the bile bomb, it breaks pretty much on impact. So the grenade just disappears, and the thing that was keeping the player suspended in the air now goes away, which I believe results in the player dying. Now here's the thing, I do suspect the possibility that the bile bomb for a brief period of time is saving the player from fall damage, because instead of it phasing through the player, it does stop them. They suspend in the air for like a good second. And the thing is that why would they suspend in the air if this wasn't treated as a solid object? It just wouldn't make sense. So I think what instead it does is that it does delay the fall damage. It doesn't completely eradicate it. I think it's more of a momentum thing. If you were to think about this realistically, Like, let's say that the body is stopped, but the internal organs, like when you have a car crash, they're all swerving around and they're shaking your head and your blood and everything is like moving around in all those places. I think that's kind of what is happening, is that you're getting a realistic equivalent of whiplash. So the grenade does save you, I think, but it doesn't result in you being alive for more than a second. All it does is just delay your death. So here's the thing, Saturn, is that I see by your myth you asked if it would break your fall. Now, by that, I assume you want to know, will it save you, in other words. And here's the thing, is that if we're going on the literal sense based off the way you typed it, it does for a brief period delay it, which therefore means it breaks your fall. However, though, if you want to use this to save yourself, it doesn't work. So I'm assuming that since you meant if this is going to save yourself, I'm just going to end up saying that this is busted, because regardless if you're throwing it or somebody else is throwing it for you, it doesn't result in you living any longer than maybe, like, let's say 1 second. So it's really honestly at this point busted because the effects are negligible. Myth, can you outrun the Charger? Alrighty guys, so this next myth was submitted in by Zoe. Now Zoe, for your myth, this is how we're going to test it. We have a little arena here that we made to end up having a control for the Charger's speed. So what's going to happen is we're basically giving him like a straight path for him to run. We're going to put him in a little bunker, and then we're just going to remove a piece of concrete, so that way when he sees a player, it's treated kind of like when you let a bull into a bullpen area, and they're chasing the guy with the red flag, and they go underlay, underlay. So the idea is that the Charger is going to be forced to run at the survivor. They can't like divert and go side to side, and we're going to have it so that way he gets aggravated from when he's in his little area all the way up until the very end. So that way we don't have to worry about timing or anything. And I just kind of want to see what it is about the Charger that makes it so that way you can outrun him. Is it going to be just direct flat speed? Is it distance from the Charger at the time that he's running? Or is it a mixture of multiple things, like if you were to bunny hop, for example? Because here's the thing, is that the Charger is literally meant to be faster than you. So obviously if you're right behind him and you both are like lined up in a worm shape or a straight line and he's just running, he's going to hit you. There's no way around it. So is it that we need a running start? Or is it that we need to do some sort of trick that we make it so that way we can escape him? We're going to find out in just a second. Alrighty guys, so this is what we're going to be doing for our first test. So Glabersko is going to be in the pen with the Charger, and he's going to be having adrenaline in his system by the time that the Charger is let free, and he's going to be about halfway down this line. So he's going to essentially have a running start. Glabersko is going to be trying to get to the other end of the tunnel, and the Charger is going to be charging probably instantaneously. So the idea is that, let's say that he charges 100 feet, if we're at like the halfway mark, can we get to the other 50% end of his trail before he has to end up walking again? So here we go, here comes the Charger, and unfortunately he just flat out ran over Glabersko. He was moving at the speed of a truck, and Glabersko got ran over, unfortunately. Now, even though we did end up having it be a bad result there, I want to show you guys something. This is me trying to do the exact same thing as Glabersko. I have an adrenaline shot. I'm about the halfway point again, so this way you guys can see it from my perspective and see what it's like if you were trying to legitimately outrun the Charger. And here's the thing, is that even though we weren't able to replicate this again, by just simply running backwards, I was able to end up avoiding him, just barely. In fact, he was able to punch me towards the tail end of him stopping, so he was just in arm's reach of me. He could have easily got me if I was just a little bit slower or any bit closer. But the thing is, though, is that we were not able to replicate this. I tried to do it again, and I even had the guys do it, and nobody was able to replicate this. I was looking the Charger dead in the eye so I could time my adrenaline, because it was like, hey, if I'm going to go the same speed backwards, might as well just try to get the timing done right. And I was pretty damn far away from him, but still within range. He can get to the very end of this entire tunnel. This is about the whole entire length of what a Charger can run, and I barely escaped. Like, barely. We even tried to do a thing where we're going to have everybody at different parts of the tunnel. So, like, for example, one of us would be at 25% of his possible distance, 50%, 75%, and at the tail end. And we were just going to see if whether or not that the Charger could outrun us, or if whether or not that he would get stuck at a certain point, so we could see how far you had to be away, or rather how fast you had to run in order to end up avoiding getting hit by him. Now here's the results of all of us trying to do this at pretty much different distances. It's not exact, we're kind of just winging it. But you can see here that from the results, he immediately grabs Nitwit, and he also does hit Glabersko. And yes, we do have a little bit of wiggle room, but this is just so that way the Charger can run and not get stuck, because, you know, sometimes when we would spawn him in, he would spawn in the concrete. So we just gave him a little bit of wiggle room. But dude, it's like, the Charger is really fast, And it seems like if he has a dead straight-on shot with you, you're probably going to most likely get hit. Even if somebody is being dragged with him, he can get a collateral easily if he wanted to. The Charger, you do not mess around with. But you still can end up having a moment where you can avoid him. I just did it only a few clips ago. So it looks like you can do it, but it's so rare, and your odds are slim. So when it comes to this myth, I don't want to say it's totally busted, because I was at least able to dodge him just the once. Here's the thing, is that because I could only do it just the once, and it could have possibly been a fluke for X amount of reasons, I think that the most fair way to label this myth is plausible. You can do it in my humble opinion, but you have to have everything in your favor. You're probably going to need an adrenaline shot and probably be about 50 feet away from him before he even starts running. Myth: can you stop Virgil from rescuing you on the Swamp Fever finale? Alrighty guys, so similar in vein to the final myth, I decided to end up making my own myth that was quite similar in nature. So I wanted to see if whether or not that it was possible to stop Virgil from rescuing you on Swamp Fever. Because here's the thing, is that Virgil ends up rescuing you by using a grenade launcher to blow up the gate. That is how he ends up making it so that way you can get to him so he can save you. Is it possible that we can block his grenade launcher by just shoving a whole bunch of crap in his way? That is what we want to see. We're not going to exactly stop the boat, he's glad to show up, but will the power of his redneck in him be able to allow him to be able to bust through the Great Wall of China that we're about to build in front of him? Because we're going to spawn in concrete, we're going to spawn in cars, we're going to spawn in everything. And by everything, I literally do mean everything. We're going to spawn in not only concrete and cars, but we're also about to spawn in goddamn air fighters and planes. So here's kind of a little bit of a brief summary of what we put in front of Virgil. Alrighty guys, so let's end up seeing if we can stop Virgil from rescuing us on Swamp Fever. Is the man going to end up having enough redneck in him that he can end up pulling his inner America and get the strongest possible grenade launcher to break down this door? Or are we going to fort him and make it so that way he cannot get to us with our giant building catastrophe we have here? Now here's the thing, is that he did end up showing up, and it does say that rescue's ready, but I'm going to have Dan delete all the stuff so that way you guys can see whether or not he broke the door. And here's the thing that's going to shock you. He actually broke the door. So Virgil, I am sorry for questioning your redneck abilities. You are actually a lot more powerful than I thought. You have gone Super Saiyan. So that means that this myth is going to be busted. You cannot stop Virgil from rescuing you because apparently he is Jesus Christ. Imagine that, Jesus is a redneck. But now guys, we move over to the final myth, the final epic myth of today's episode. So let me know what you think's going to happen. Are we going to be able to stop the dead airplane from taking off? Because it's a big thing to ask, but the thing is at the exact same time, there's been a lot of different physics that we've tried in recent myths that don't make any sense, and so who knows, maybe it might be blocked, maybe it might not be, but we're gonna find out in just a second. Myth: is it possible to stop the plane from taking off on Dead Air's finale? Alrighty guys, so the final myth was submitted in by Star. Now Star, very similar to my last myth I showed you guys here. I am just going to once again spawn in the Great Wall of China in front of the path where the plane would normally take off. It in general surprises me that the plane can take off in this area. I get that it's a cutscene, it's supposed to be all epic and intense, but the plane fitting through this tiny narrow gap already is astonishing to me. So with the airport on fire and zombies everywhere, let's see if we can also end up having the plane still escape even if I spawn in a giant concrete barrier in front of it. Alrighty guys, so here comes the final myth. Let's see what the results are. So there's concrete everywhere. Can the plane escape? Is it gonna get stuck? Let's see. Okay, this game does not make any sense. Alrighty guys, so fun fact, the pilot that is on Dead Air is apparently Houdini. Alrighty guys, so the final myth is busted. You sadly can't stop the plane from taking off. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. There was literally not even a chance to stop it at that point. I mean, bro, the plane just flat out didn't give an F. He just walked past it. So I don't know if we can stop this thing since technically it's a cutscene, but who knows, maybe we'll figure out something in the future. Pussy Money Weed. Okay, now that I got your attention again, let me end up concluding with my outro, meme lords. So I just want to say is that thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying, and if you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. And remember, if you want to end up having one of your myths featured in next week's episode, please, by all means, put them in the comment section down below. Or as an alternative, you can also even put your myths in my custom Myth Busting Mondays tab that I made in my Discord server for you guys, which if you want to join, my Discord server is linked down below in the YouTube video's description here. I highly recommend checking that out so that way I can not only communicate with you guys further outside the videos, but that way you guys can see all the myths nice and organized. If you'd like to financially support the channel, everybody, I would tremendously appreciate if you guys could go check out my Patreon. It's always linked down below in all my YouTube video descriptions, or you guys can use supporter creator code BlackNinja797 all caps in the Fortnite Epic Games item shops, because Epic is my very first sponsor, and they were sponsoring today's video, so shout out to Epic Games. But yeah, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTuber they're ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!